If you followed along with any of our videos that we've been doing so far, you've come across the concept of Gematria because I've talked about it a couple of times, and specifically the numbers 17 and 26, which are the values of the divine name. If you're not familiar with the concept of Gematria, just very quickly, it's the idea of assigning numerical value to the Hebrew alphabet, to the Hebrew letters. And what that does is that makes every word, a Hebrew word, it gives it a numerical value. So the name David, the value is 14. And we've kind of explored some of the ways that that might come up, and especially like Matthew's genealogy. If you watch the genealogy video that I did previously, we talk a bit about some of this stuff. But I want to do this video because it struck me recently that I could very easily, and probably have been, underselling how common this stuff really is, how much it pops up. And so I kind of want to go back a little bit over some of the material we've done, and frankly just broadly look at the Book of Chronicles and explain that, hey, this stuff is probably much more common than you would think. So here we're going to be relying heavily on the work of Caspar Labuschagne. And this is, just broadly speaking, the entire Book of Chronicles. And now what you're looking at, like all of the blue, means it's, if you want to use the term, governed by a divine number, either 17 or 26. Again, one of the values of the divine name Yahweh, the numerical value. And as he points out up here that it's 98% of the text is governed by either of these numbers. So just as an example, from 1 Chronicles 1 through chapter 4, verse 23, which is from Adam all the way to Israel and Judah, that entire section of genealogy is 84 times 17 words total, which ends up being 1,428. But it's a direct multiple of a divine number. And you get it like in some of the other places where directly some of the sections are. But the broader sections, like for instance, the entire genealogy from chapter 1 all the way through chapter 8 is 202 times 17 words, which is 3,434 words. So this entire section right here is from chapter 1 through chapter 8 is governed by a divine number, in this case 17. Chapter 9 is an odd duck if you read through it, because these are the returning people from exile. So it takes you up into a certain point, really, in this case, like up through Saul, and really it's like a flash forward here to the people that come back from exile, that are, that's how the book ends, going into Babylonian exile, basically. And then again, Cyrus' decree about the returning exile. So it kind of does this like jump forward, jump back kind of thing. And so chapter 9 is a little bit odd, and he'll explain why he thinks this is put where it's at, why it's 490 words and that kind of thing. But anyway, the section all the way from 1 Chronicles chapter 10 all the way through Solomon's reign, that section is 390 times 26 words. And of course, these sections are pretty well connected. A lot of the commentaries are going to have a lot of connections between these various points. Now, what he does here, and you might find it illegitimate or not, I don't know, but he's actually going to double up a little bit. Well, frankly, Solomon's section is going to be doubled up, because he's going to count this starting at 2 Chronicles chapter 1, basically the entire book of 2 Chronicles, he counts as another separate unit, even though there's this small overlap of 9 chapters here. But this is all the post-Davidic kings through the end of 2 Chronicles. So basically the entirety of 2 Chronicles is 512 times 26 words. So again, and of course you can see even on smaller levels, like smaller sections are 209 times 17, or this section over here, 109 times 17. So even on smaller levels, and even smaller than those levels, as we'll look at here in a moment, some of the small like sections of verses are again governed by these divine totals of 17 or 26. Now, all the way back up though, why he thinks that this is the 490, when you add that to the entirety of the book, or through the rest of this, the total number of words in the book is 24,057, which is divisible by 11, or a multiple of 11, which is a symbol of fulfillment, right? The number 11 is his argument. And he argues, and I haven't really gone deeply into Ezra and Nehemiah and again the structuring of it, but he argues that these two books have that 11 as it governs a lot of the texts in those two books. And I guess the reason why the fulfillment thing would be important in Ezra and Nehemiah is because of the idea of the prophecy of exile, and again the fulfillment of also the return from exile out of Babylon, right? That was predicted and it's being fulfilled. They're rebuilding the temple, and that would, I guess, be the reason why you have this fulfillment idea. But he thinks that that this section is tagged on here into Chronicles so as to get this number to a multiple of 11 so that it can tie itself to Ezra and Nehemiah. If you've ever studied this out at all, the end of Second Chronicles is almost verbatim the very beginning of Ezra. And a lot of people think that that's intentionally done to link these books together. But this would be another way to do that, is by giving it a similar numerical value that the other books are being governed by. That basically it stamps these three books together as books of fulfillment. That's largely his argument there of why he thinks that this is done. Let's move forward here and look a little bit more granular at some of the details. So here he's going to have crucial passages that are shaped and sealed by the divine name numbers 17 and 26. Again, 17 and 26 being the value of the divine name. Let me zoom in here. And so we'll just start here. We went over this, the first four chapters, from Adam all the way to Israel and Judah. Again, 84 times 17 words. So this will be easier if I just say the multiple and understand that we're dealing with the total number of words. So from Adam to the Canaanites, it's 4 times 26. The sons of Abraham, 3 times 17. The sons of Judah, 20 times 26. And by the way, I should note this. I should go back and note all of these now are chapter. So we have this large section, right, all the way through chapter 4. The entire section is governed by 17. But within that, we have all these other ones that themselves are being governed by divine totals. So I don't remember where I was at, but the descendants of Judah and David, 70 times 17. The descendants of Jerahmeel, 9 times 17. The descendants of Caleb, it's 78 total, but it's 3 times 26. The line of David in specific reference to Judah, 8 times 17. From Etam to the men of Rekah, 7 times 17. And now moving beyond that point, the place of Asaph, 2 times 17. The descendants of Benjamin, 10 times 17. The people of Jerusalem, 5 times 17. And the priests who returned from exile, 3 times 17. Notice here that even though chapter 9 was our odd duck, as far as not being governed by a divine number, you still do have the 17 show up twice in 2 different sections within chapter 9. All of chapter 10, the death of Saul and the rise of David to power, is 12 times 17. King David with his chiefs and mighty men, 20 times 26. David and the mighty men and their chiefs, 7 times 26. Other mighty men, 12 times 17. David and his commanders, 2 times 26. By the way, somewhere in this section, I forget where, maybe, I think it might be chapter 12. But one of these sections ends up having a list of 26 names. That doesn't show up in this list that he's doing here because it's going by word totals. But there's a list of 26 names in one of these. So all the way from chapter 13, verse 1 to 16:6. So all of this is dealing with the movement of the Ark of the Covenant. We just finished this. This is when, this is right here is when it's finally installed. But this is basically when he has the idea to do it, and this is when the Ark is finally installed in the tent. That whole section is 50 times 17. Uzzah's punishment is 3 times 26. David inquires of God and gets an answer, 2 times 17. A tent for the Ark, 2 times 17. And this is actually, I think this is it. Yeah, this is the section I actually brought up last time. And this kind of sparked the thought in my mind. But it's when the Ark is installed, David blessed and feasted with the people is 52 words total. And, it got me to thinking that somebody might look at this and think, well, that's just coincidental. But again, I'm being kind of exhaustive here, because I want you to realize that, yeah, I've just brought it up here, but it's all this other stuff I have not been mentioning. But at a certain point, it starts becoming difficult to just hand wave it as coincidence. Again, some of them will be coincidental, but again, at a certain point, and Labuschane's clear again. He's clear that some of these are coincidences. In fact, last night in the Cowboys Eagles game, the final score was 17-26. I saw that and I just kind of laughed to myself because I thought, hey, there's the two divine numbers. But let's see, part 2 of the Psalm in Israel's response. I brought this up in the video, 5 times 26. And the divine promises for David's kingdom and the prayer of David. This is the entire chapter of 17. There you are, is 24 times 17 or 408 words. I'm going to leave it off there because that's kind of up to the point that I've been on in the Chronicles videos. But we could continue, and I'll try to do a better job of bringing them up just so I just don't always want to bring it up. But at the same time, I feel like I should, because if I don't, it'll become easy to look at and be like, it's a coincidence. Who cares? But at a certain point, you see these patterns emerge the more you look at them. Like, for instance, I think this is off the top of my head, but I think Psalm 48 it's one of the Psalms of Zion. The value of Zion is 48. And it seems very likely then that the group of scribes or whoever was responsible for putting Psalm 48 where they put it did so with the knowledge that 48 is the value of Zion, of the term. And the more you look at these, the more that those kinds of things come across where you just look at it and say, okay, at least that one's not a coincidence. But after a certain point, you start seeing more and more of them. And then you think, okay, I think they were really doing this intentionally in many of these places. But we'll leave that off for now. I don't know. Let me know if you want me to be exhaustive more often than not, or if you want me to go through more of the Psalms or something, because again, it pops up in many different places. But yeah, that's Chronicles up to this point, and we will continue Chronicles in chapter 17 next time.